In a bustling city, there lived a wealthy man named Harold. Harold had amassed a fortune through years of hard work and shrewd investments. Despite his wealth, he often wondered how his family would manage without him. Driven by curiosity, he devised a plan to fake his own death and observe how his family would handle his wealth. One evening, Harold sat in his luxurious study and picked up the phone to call his lawyer, Mr. Jenkins. "I need you to come to my office first thing tomorrow morning. We need to look at the will," Harold instructed. Mr. Jenkins, who was accustomed to such calls, sighed inwardly but agreed to the meeting. Harold had a peculiar habit of frequently changing his will. Whenever a family member angered him, he would swiftly amend the document, removing the offending individual from the list of beneficiaries. This constant shuffling of names became a regular occurrence, and Mr. Jenkins grew accustomed to the routine. The next morning, Mr. Jenkins arrived at Harold's office, carrying the latest version of the will. Harold greeted him with a nod and gestured for him to take a seat. "I need to make some changes," Harold declared, his tone serious. Mr. Jenkins opened his briefcase and retrieved the will. "Who is it this time?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mix of resignation and curiosity. "Margaret," Harold replied tersely. "She threw a lavish party last week and didn't invite me. Remove her from the will." Mr. Jenkins nodded and made the necessary adjustments. This was not the first time Margaret had been cut from the will, and he suspected it wouldn't be the last. Over the years, Harold's will had transformed into a revolving door of names, with family members constantly being added and removed based on Harold's whims. Despite this eccentric behavior, Mr. Jenkins remained loyal to Harold. He understood the man's need for control and the satisfaction he derived from keeping his family on their toes. Little did Harold know, however, that his greatest test of trust and loyalty was yet to come. With the changes made, Harold was ready to put his grand plan into action. He called Mr. Jenkins to his office once more. "I want you to create fake accounts and transfer half of my wealth into them," Harold instructed. "I have a Swiss account, some of the money can go there. We'll also open a bank in South Africa and another in the UK. We need to make this look real." Mr. Jenkins nodded, jotting down the instructions. "And the rest of the wealth?" he asked. "The rest will be managed by my family," Harold replied. "I want my wife to get 50% in the house. My 3 children will get equal amounts." Mr. Jenkins raised an eyebrow. "Do you think this is a good idea?" "Yes, it is," Harold said firmly. "This will help me determine which of my children is capable of managing the wealth. Look at them, do you think any of them are truly capable? My daughter Nissy married a wolf in sheep's clothing, I don't trust her decisions. My second daughter Tolu has no direction and is stubborn. Sometimes business isn't about character. My third daughter Toya knows business, but she's just graduated. The other 2 have their own careers. I'm not convinced any of them can handle this." Harold paused, his thoughts swirling with doubt and determination. Mr. Jenkins could see the weight of the decision on his client's face but said nothing, knowing Harold's resolve would not waver. With a final nod, Harold concluded, "Let the family believe that I've tragically passed away. This is the only way to see their true colors." With the plan set in motion, Harold's disappearance unfolded seamlessly. His staged accident fooled everyone, including his family, into believing he had tragically passed away. Meanwhile, Mr. Jenkins, the trusted lawyer, worked diligently behind the scenes to ensure the plan's smooth execution. When the news of Harold's supposed death reached his family, Mr. Jenkins summoned them to his office for the reading of the will. The family gathered in the lawyer's office, grief and curiosity etched on their faces. Mr. Jenkins began to read the will. According to Mr. Harold's wishes, the house and 50% of his wealth will be transferred to his wife, Boosie. The remaining 50% will be equally divided among his 3 children. Margaret, Harold's niece, furrowed her brow and asked, "Is that all he left for us?" Mr. Jenkins replied with a solemn expression, "Unfortunately, that's all. Mr. Harold didn't leave anything for you or the uncles." The room fell silent for a moment before Margaret and the uncle stood up, their faces flushed with anger. Without another word, they stormed out of the office, leaving Mr. Jenkins to continue his clandestine transfer of Harold's wealth into his own accounts, all while plotting his eventual escape. Little did the family know that their inheritance was being siphoned away by the very man they trusted to execute Harold's will. In no time, Harold's family began to spend his wealth lavishly. They bought luxurious cars, extravagant homes, and threw opulent parties. The money, which Harold had painstakingly earned, was quickly dwindling. Meanwhile, Mr. Jenkins was busy transferring the wealth from the fake accounts into his own name, unbeknownst to Harold. He spoke to Harold frequently, maintaining the facade of loyalty while meticulously planning his escape. Their conversations were filled with updates and reassurances, and Harold had no idea what was happening behind his back. Harold and Mr. Jenkins had been childhood friends, their bond seemingly unbreakable. However, there was a lingering wound that Mr. Jenkins had never discussed with Harold. When they were in university, Harold and Jenkins were inseparable. They studied together, shared dreams, and supported each other through thick and thin. One day, a letter arrived for Jenkins, announcing that a prestigious company, owned by Jenkins' uncle, had chosen him for a sponsorship. This sponsorship would cover his education expenses, providing a much-needed financial relief. However, fate intervened in the form of Harold. The letter was mistakenly delivered to Harold, who, for reasons known only to him, chose to keep it to himself. He saw how his friend struggled with financial difficulties, yet he remained silent, never revealing the life-changing opportunity that had come Jenkins' way. As years passed, Jenkins eventually graduated, but the struggle had taken its toll on him. He had to work multiple jobs to make ends meet, and the hardships left a lasting impact on his outlook on life. One day, Jenkins attended a lawyer's event, where he unexpectedly ran into Harold's uncle. During their conversation, the uncle asked, "Why did you turn down our sponsorship offer?" Jenkins was taken aback. "What offer are you talking about?" he asked, confusion etched on his face. "We were told you turned down our offer," the uncle replied. A surge of anger and betrayal washed over Jenkins as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. He confronted Harold the next day, his voice trembling with emotion. "Why didn't you tell me about the sponsorship? Do you have any idea how much I struggled because of your silence?" Harold, caught off guard, fumbled for an explanation, but the damage was done. The friendship that had once been their cornerstone now lay fractured and fragile. Jenkins felt a deep-seated resentment toward Harold, one that he carried with him for years. The betrayal of not receiving the sponsorship opportunity had left a lasting impact on Jenkins' heart, and he struggled to forgive Harold for his silence. Years went by, and both men pursued their respective careers. Despite their estrangement, Harold couldn't shake the guilt he felt for his actions in university. He realized that he had wronged his friend, and the burden of that guilt weighed heavily on him. One evening, during a business event, Harold spotted Jenkins across the room. Gathering his courage, he approached his old friend and extended a hand. "Jenkins, it's been a long time. Can we talk?" Jenkins hesitated but nodded. They found a quiet corner where Harold finally addressed the elephant in the room. "Jenkins, I owe you an apology. I know I hurt you deeply by withholding that sponsorship letter. It was wrong of me, and I've regretted it ever since. I'm truly sorry." Jenkins looked into Harold's eyes, searching for sincerity. He saw the remorse and felt a weight lift off his shoulders. "Harold, that hurt more than you'll ever know. But I appreciate your apology. It's taken a long time to hear those words." The two men spent the evening reminiscing about their university days and catching up on their lives. Slowly but surely, the walls between them began to crumble. They found common ground again, and their friendship started to mend. Harold, recognizing Jenkins' talent and integrity, offered him a position as his lawyer. "Jenkins, I trust you more than anyone else. Will you be my lawyer?" Jenkins, still wary but willing to give their friendship another chance, agreed. "All right, Harold. Let's put the past behind us and move forward. With Jenkins by his side, Harold felt a renewed sense of trust and loyalty. The two men worked together, rebuilding not only their professional relationship but also their bond of friendship. So when Harold presented his grand plan, Jenkins saw it as the perfect opportunity for payback. He meticulously executed the scheme, all the while planning his escape with the wealth that Harold trusted him to manage. The betrayal was not just about the money, it was about reclaiming his sense of justice and worth, which he believed had been stolen from him all those years ago. One evening, as Harold observed his family's reckless spending from the shadows, he felt a deep sense of disappointment. His hard-earned money was being squandered at an alarming rate. He decided it was time to speak with Jenkins and discuss his next move. Picking up the phone, Harold called his trusted lawyer. "Jenkins, we need to talk. Come to my house as soon as possible." Jenkins, always quick to respond, arrived at Harold's hidden location. They sat down, and Harold began to pour out his frustrations. "Boosie can't do much, the girls are old enough to make their own decisions," Harold sighed. "But what I'm seeing is disturbing. Beezy, husband keeps changing businesses. His ventures fail all the time. Whenever Beezy speaks up, he threatens to leave her, and despite being toxic, she begs him to stay. I don't understand what kind of a man is he." Jenkins listened intently, nodding as Harold continued. "Tola, on the other hand, is always attending parties and shopping. She has no sense of responsibility or financial management. It's painful to watch my life's work being frittered away." Harold paused, his eyes reflecting the weight of his emotions. "Jenkins, I need your help. We have to find a way to salvage this situation." With mounting frustration, Harold realized he couldn't let his family destroy everything he had built. However, there was a glimmer of hope. At least Tolu is level-headed, Harold thought to himself. Her business is flourishing. It's time for me to go back home. Turning to Mr. Jenkins, Harold made his decision clear. "I want you to call a family meeting. I'll show up and reveal the truth. It's time to put an end to this." Jenkins listened intently, but his mind was racing. He knew this was the moment he had been waiting for. "I guess I will have to make a move as soon as Harold settled with his family," he thought to himself. Feigning loyalty, Jenkins nodded. "Of course, Harold. I'll arrange the meeting. Everything will be ready for your return." With the plan in place, Harold felt a sense of resolve. He was determined to regain control and teach his family the importance of responsibility. Little did he know, Jenkins was ready to vanish with the wealth, leaving Harold to face the consequences of his actions alone. Mr. Jenkins called everyone together, raising suspicions among the family. "Why would your father's lawyer call you?" Beezy's husband asked, his brow furrowed. "I'm sure he has something to say, maybe there's news about my father," Beezy replied. "His body was never found when his car went into the lake. He must know something." The family gathered in the living room, waiting silently. The air was thick with anticipation. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and Boosie gasped, pointing in shock. "Ghost," she screamed, her voice trembling. Mr. Jenkins quickly stepped forward, raising his hands to calm the room. "It's not a ghost," he explained. "It's Mr. Harold himself." Harold stepped into the room, his presence undeniable. The family stared in disbelief. "I was in an accident and remember a man pulling me out from the lake," Harold began. "I was taken to the hospital and believe I was in a coma. I woke up a few days ago, only to find my children have spent their inheritance recklessly. I'm very disappointed with you people." Harold continued with his lie and made it sound real. He told himself it was a better option. Tears streamed down the faces of his children as they processed the shock and the truth of his words. They had spent the past year believing their father was gone, only to discover that he had been watching their every move. "We are very sorry," they said, voices choked with emotion. Harold's return was both a moment of joy and a harsh lesson in responsibility. The family would have to work hard to rebuild their trust and honor the legacy of the man who had given them everything. Mr. Harold took a deep breath and turned to Jenkins. "You can leave now, Jenkins. Let me spend some time with my family. We'll have a meeting first thing tomorrow." Jenkins nodded, trying to mask his inner turmoil. "Of course, Harold. I'll see you in the morning." Harold watched as Jenkins left, feeling a sense of relief and determination. It was time to take back control and set things right. That night, he reconnected with his family, sharing stories and listening to their apologies. The tears and heartfelt words gave him hope that they could rebuild their trust. Jenkins meticulously finalized his escape plan, thinking to himself, "It's time for me to leave this place. Before Harold finds out tomorrow, I will ensure to disappear without a trace." The very next morning, Jenkins took the first flight to South Africa. He moved swiftly, knowing that time was of the essence. As the plane took off, he felt a mix of relief and triumph. By the time Harold discovered the truth, Jenkins would be long gone. The next morning, Harold returned to his office, ready to dive into the financials. As he entered the building, heads turned and whispers spread like wildfire. Everyone was shocked to see him. The man they believed to be dead was now standing before them, very much alive. Harold wasted no time. He called for an emergency board meeting, and within the hour, the boardroom was filled with stunned faces. He began the meeting with a brief explanation, recounting his staged accident and the plan to observe his family's handling of his wealth. The room was silent, the board members hanging on to his every word. After addressing their immediate concerns, Harold turned his attention to the financial documents. As he sifted through them, a sense of unease crept over him. Something wasn't right. The numbers didn't add up, and discrepancies began to emerge. Panic set in as he realized the extent of the problem. The figures showed that his family had squandered a significant portion of his fortune, but that wasn't the worst of it. As he delved deeper into the records, he discovered that large sums of money had been transferred to accounts he hadn't authorized. Harold's heart sank as the realization hit him. His trusted lawyer and childhood friend, Mr. Jenkins, had betrayed him. Jenkins had not only facilitated the reckless spending but had also siphoned off the remaining wealth into his own accounts. With a sense of urgency, Harold reached for his phone and dialed Jenkins' number. His heart pounded as the call went straight to voicemail. "The number you are trying to reach is currently switched off. Please try again later," the automated message droned. Harold slumped into his chair, feeling the weight of betrayal and loss. The man he had relied on for years had used the opportunity to exact revenge for a long-forgotten slight. Panic set in. He called his driver to bring the car to the front. They rushed to Jenkins' house, only to find a "sold" sign planted firmly in the front yard. The house was empty, void of any trace of his former friend. Mr. Harold stood there, staring at the "sold" sign, his heart sinking. As he tried to process the magnitude of Jenkins' betrayal, a man and his wife emerged from the house, noticing the stranger standing outside. "Excuse me, can I help you?" the middle-aged man asked, approaching Harold with a curious look. Harold turned to them, his expression a mix of desperation and confusion. "I was looking for the owner of this house," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. The man exchanged a glance with his wife before replying, "We are the new owners of this house. It was sold to us by Mr. Jenkins, a very kind man," the man added with a nod. Harold's heart sank further. "Do you know where he is?" he asked, the urgency in his voice betraying his calm facade. "He said he had gotten a job overseas and needed to sell this house immediately," the man explained. "Since it was a good deal, we bought it." Harold nodded numbly, realizing that Jenkins had indeed planned his escape meticulously. With the house sold and no trace of his former friend, it was clear Jenkins had taken full advantage of Harold's trust and had vanished without a trace. As the reality of the situation settled in, Harold knew he had to face the consequences of his actions. He vowed to rebuild his life and learn from his mistakes, understanding now more than ever that trust should be earned and that sometimes, the enemy lies within. It was clear that Jenkins had planned this meticulously, leaving no detail overlooked. He had taken advantage of Harold's trust and disappeared without a trace, taking the remaining wealth with him. In that moment, Harold understood the full weight of his mistake. Trust, once broken, could lead to devastating consequences. Jenkins' actions were a harsh reminder that sometimes the enemy lies within, and karma has a way of coming full circle. He had trusted Jenkins implicitly, never imagining that his childhood friend would take advantage of his vulnerability. As Harold sat in his office, piecing together the financial discrepancies, the bitter truth dawned on him. Jenkins had not fully forgiven him for the past betrayal regarding the sponsorship letter. Instead, he had used this opportunity to exact his revenge, taking Harold's wealth and disappearing without a trace. Harold felt a profound sense of betrayal and loss. The realization that Jenkins had harbored resentment for years and had seen this as payback was a harsh lesson. Trust, he understood now, should be earned and never taken for granted. He learned that sometimes the enemy is within, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to strike. Harold's earlier actions had sown the seeds of mistrust and deceit, which had now grown into a devastating betrayal. The experience left him with a deeper understanding of the value of integrity and the importance of genuine relationships. He vowed to rebuild his life with a renewed sense of purpose and caution. He would never again allow himself to be blinded by misplaced trust. Instead, he would forge new paths, learning from his mistakes and ensuring that his legacy was built on the foundation of honesty and loyalty. In the end, Harold's story became a powerful reminder that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the integrity and love of those around us. And that trust, once broken, can have far-reaching and unforeseen consequences. Thank you for watching Granny G Stories. For more stories, please subscribe to the channel.